What's up everyone, Piscean here. In this video we're going to look at a case study of Tracy Chapman. This is Advanced Astrology, Extensive Birth Chart Rectification. Quick shout out to Grok AI for helping craft this PDF. Also, it was prepared with Report Labs, which I don't know if I mentioned in other videos, but Report Labs is also a very, very helpful tool in regards to my videos. So here is a quick faculty disclaimer here. And by the way, this is demonstrating multi-technique rectification methodology, as well as event correlation, angular analysis, hypothetical time chart construction. It's the date without the time, that's the whole purpose. This is extensive birth chart rectification, specifically for Tracy Chapman because I'm very inspired by her entire discography. And this faculty disclaimer here, this document is constructed strictly for pedagogical purposes. No verified birth time exists for Tracy Chapman. Astro Data Bank, Rod and Rating X. All proposed times, as well as angles and interpretive statements, are hypothetical working models intended to illustrate rectification procedure, event weighting, and multi-technique convergence. So they must not be treated as definitive or published as factual natal data. Faculty should emphasize the professional nature of any rectified chart when teaching. And here we see tropical zodiac. We're going into Placidus houses, as well as true node and geocentric. So there's a lot to get into. I really hope you stay tuned so you can learn some advanced astrology or astrology in general in this video, rectification. And that is the purpose of this channel. You know, I want it to be educational. So, Alright, so sorry about that, guys. This is the theoretical foundations of chart rectification. So we see chart rectification is a systematic reconstruction of an unknown or uncertain birth time by correlating significant biographical events with the movement of the angles, the ascendant, the midheaven, the descendant, and the IC, and secondarily the moon. Because the angles advance approximately 1 degree every 4 minutes of clock time, they are the most time-sensitive factors in the natal chart. So primary directions, we have solar arc directions and secondary progressions. Outer planet transits to these angles form the core toolkit of the modern rectifier. So in the absence of a recorded time, the astrologer begins with a noon chart or a solar chart to establish planetary longitudes that are relatively stable across a 24-hour period, the moon being the principal exception. The rectification process then tests candidate ascendant degrees against a weighted list of life events, seeking convergence across multiple predictive techniques. Confidence rises when independent methods, primary directions, solar arcs, secondary progressions, and major transits converge on the same narrow time window. Alright, and this is a hierarchy of event utility. Not all life events are equally useful for rectification. The following hierarchy is recommended for faculty demonstration. And essentially, there's going to be a priority from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we're looking at the event type, as well as the typical angular correlation and reliability. So we see the first priority here. The event type is sudden public breakthrough, major career launch. And we see the typical angular correlation here. I don't know, it's TAC. Transits directions to the midheaven and also 10,000 rulers, and the reliability here is very high. Okay, and now we see the second priority here is a death of parent or major family rupture. And the TAC is transits directions to the IC, 4,000 rulers, the moon is high. And the third priority, relocation, educational transition of high consequence. Angles, 9th, 3rd cusps, Uranus contacts, high. For major awards, institutional recognition. The midheaven, 10th, Jupiter Saturn angles, high. 5th priority, significant relationship commencement, dissolution, and descendant 7th, Venus Mars contacts, moderate, high. And we see the 6th priority, creative, artistic first performance, first recording, 5th cusp, Venus, Neptune, Moon, and moderate. So now we basically just have to look at the events. As we explained, we see events with precise calendar dates are preferred. Approximate date is For example, H4 introduced an uncertainty band that must be carried through the analysis. Faculty should train students to assign confidence weights and to document the residual uncertainty explicitly. And we see the established natal data in noon reference start. The source here is Astro Data Bank Clifford. Birth certificate in hand, times not recorded. Place coordinates standardized to Cleveland, Ohio. These coordinates, time zone, standard time in effect for EST UTC 5. And the planetary positions, the noon chart approximation, the following longitudes are calculated for 12 EST. On March 30th, 1964, Cleveland, we see that inner planets and the luminaries, except the moon, change little across the day. The moon's daily motion of approximately 13 degrees requires a working range of roughly subtracting 6.5 degrees from the noon position, and the time is completely unknown. All right. So we have the planetary bodies here: Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. We see Sun longitude for noon is 10 degrees 01 Aries, with the notes for rectification being stable. Key identity point, Quincunx moon by 0 degrees 22 at noon. We see Moon, 9 degrees 39 Scorpio noon, with a range of 3 degrees through 16 degrees Scorpio across the day. Critical emotional signature, with Mercury longitude at noon, 26 degrees 18 Aries, and a conjunction Jupiter, 0 degrees 42, strong mental expansive signature. Venus, 25 degrees 26 Taurus, exalted, which, by the way, it is not exalted. This is a mistake that AI included here. So there is AI hallucinations. I will acknowledge that. And I've made videos before where I say, AI is not the end all be all, if that makes any sense. Aesthetic and relational tone. And also Venus is exalted in Pisces, but Taurus was curated by Venus. Venus goes with Taurus. It's just not exalted there. So Mars, 0 degrees 58 Aries, we see early Aries potential midheaven or the ascendant contact depending on time. Jupiter at 27 degrees 01 Aries, with Mercury, opportunity and philosophical voice. We see Saturn at 0 degrees 41 Pisces, early Pisces, structural and karmic weight. Uranus at 6 degrees 43 Virgo retrograde, sextile moon noon, revolutionary undercurrent. Neptune at 17 degrees 24 Scorpio retrograde. I forgot to mention Uranus is retrograde, Neptune's retrograde, and it looks like Pluto's retrograde. And the North Node is always retrograde. Sometimes it goes direct, but anyways, Pluto, 12 degrees 15 Virgo retrograde, sextile and moon, depth and transformation themes. North Node, Rahu, 6 degrees Cancer retrograde, of course, solar action toward nurturing and public emotional expression. We see Chiron at 16 degrees 02 Pisces, mood and healing through compassion and voice. So we see the key noon aspects of pedagogical interest. The Sun conjuncts the Moon is very tight. Mercury conjunct Jupiter, Moon sextile Uranus and Pluto. Venus square Saturn with the orb 5 degrees. And these fixed planetary relationships remain largely intact. Regardless of birth time, only the house placements and angular contacts change. I look at the weighted biographical event catalog, and we see the following events have been compiled from multiple biographical sources: Britannica, Rolling Stone, Astro Data Bank, contemporary interviews. Dates of highest precision are prioritized for angular testing, and approximate ages are converted to year ranges with explicit uncertainty notes. So we have E1 all the way down to E10. I'm looking at the dates, periods, the event, weight, and primary angular focus. So we see for E1, the date period is 1960 H4. Parent, divorce, mother becomes primary caregiver, period of economic hardship, high, the IZ4 moon, Saturn. E2, 1972 H8, begins writing songs, early musical identity formation, moderate, fifth cusp, Venus, Moon, Neptune. E3, 1978 80, age 14, 16, scholarship to Worcester School. CT, major educational geographic relocation via a better chance. High, 9th, 3rd, Uranus, midheaven. E4, 1986-87, discovery by Brian Charles Koppelman. The signing process, Tufts graduation, 1987, high, midheaven, Jupiter 10th. E5, April 5th, 1988, release of debut album, her self-titled, very high, midheaven, 10th, Sun, Mars, Jupiter. And we see E6, June 11th, 1988, Nelson Mandela, very big performance, 78th birthday tribute. Wembley, global breakthrough performance, very high, with midheaven, the ascendant, Uranus, and Jupiter. E7, February 22nd, 1989, 31st Grammy Awards, Best New Artist, Best Female Pop Vocal, Best Contemporary Folk, very high, midheaven, Jupiter 10th. E8, 1995 through 1997, she released a New Beginning album. Excuse me. Give Me One Reason, success. 1997 Grammy for Best Rock Song. High, midheaven, Venus, 5th, 10th. We see E9, mid-1990s, romantic relationship with Alice Walker, publicly acknowledged by Walker. Moderate, descendant, 7th, Venus. And E10, February 4th, 2024, Grammy performance of Fast Car with Luke Combs, major public reappearance. I have my own opinions on Luke Combs and why he even chose to do that song, and I'm not going to go into that in this video because, of course, it's political, but this is high, the midheaven, ascendant, Uranus, and the node. So we see all of our event data here, and we can clearly see that events E5 and E7 form a tight cluster of career activation within a 10-month window from April 1988 through February 1989. This cluster is especially valuable. Any candidate ascendant midheaven must allow major outer planet or directed contacts to the midheaven or its ruler during this period. And we see E1 with the parental divorce, H4 provide an early IC moon test. E3 boarding school relocation test the 9th house in Uranus symbolism. And we look at multi-technique rectification protocol here. Solar arc directions. So we know that solar arc directions advance every planet in angle by the arc of the progressum, so approximately 1 degree per year. Contacts of directed planets to natal angles or directed angles to natal planets are examined for the exact correspondence with event dates. And this is because the midheaven and the ascendant are directed at the same rate. A shift of 4 minutes in birth time moves the directed angles by roughly 1 degree and therefore shifts the timing of contacts by approximately 1 year. This makes solar arcs highly sensitive for rectification. Secondary progressions. Day for a year, especially useful via the progressed moon, 1 degree per month, and progress angles. Excuse me. All right. So sorry. If you're watching this and you're like, gosh, your throat. Yeah, I know. It's going. So, progressed moon contacts to the natal angles or planets often mark emotional or public turning points. Progressed Sun, Mercury, and Venus to angles provide additional confirmation. Progressed ascendant and the midheaven themselves move more slowly and are valuable for longer-term career or identity shifts. Primary directions, I'm talking about Regiomontanus, Placidus under the pole. So, primary directions remain the classical gold standard for fine-tuning. 1 degree of right ascension corresponds roughly to 1 year of life. Directed aspects of the angles to natal planets, and vice versa, are calculated for each candidate time, because primary directions, they're extremely time sensitive. Agreement between primary directions, solar arcs on the same ascendant degree. It constitutes strong evidence. So, outer planet transits to the angles. We had transits of Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto across the natal ascendant or the midheaven, and frequently coincide with major life chapters. So a 1 degree shift in the midheaven, it can move a slow planet transit by 1 to 3 years, providing a clear discrimination test. For the 1988 through 89 breakthrough cluster, faculty should examine whether Uranus, Saturn, or Jupiter made angular contact under the candidate time. All right. And characterological and physique cross-check. So although secondary to event timing, the rising sign should be consistent with observed temperament, physical presentation, and life orientation. Tracy Chapman's public persona, client intensity, moral seriousness, understated power, deep voice, and sustained privacy has been variously associated by astrologers with Scorpio, Capricorn, Virgo, or Cancer rising, which in my opinion, I think she's a Taurus rising, like me, because I love my privacy. And I really don't have that many friends, and I'm fine with that, because at this point, I understand why. And speculative charts in the rectified ascendant must remain plausible against this qualitative filter. So, we're working hypothesis is the candidate time window or the CTW. And after iterative testing of the 1988-39 career cluster, E5 through E7 against the solar arc, transit contacts to the midheaven, cross-checking the early family rupture, E1 against the IC moon symbolism, a productive working window emerges in the mid to late morning hours. Excuse me. So the following candidate is offered strictly as an instruction model for faculty demonstration, not as a claim of verified birth time. It's hypothetical working time, illustrative only, approximately 9:15 to 10 EST, proposed for classroom modeling. See 9:42 EST, adding subtracting 15 minutes, uncertainty band. One moment, guys. All right, I am back. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we have the ascendant, and that equals 12 degrees through 18 degrees Cancer. We see its moon ruled with emotional depth, productive public face, maternal ancestral themes. We see the midheaven, it's at 22 degrees through 28 degrees Pisces. Neptune, Jupiter, co-influence, artistic, compassionate, boundary dissolving career. The descendant equals Capricorn range, serious structured partnerships. And the IC is Virgo range, service, discrimination, and practical roots. So this window places the moon more firmly amid Scorpio and allows the 1988 Uranus and Jupiter activity to aspect the midheaven ascendant axis, as well with tighter orbs. It is one of several viable candidates here. Faculty are encouraged to test alternative windows, for example, late afternoon Scorpio rising or early evening, and compare convergence scores. Alright, so here's the rationale summary for the working window. We see a 1988 breakthrough cluster with the midheaven in late Pisces, as well as solar arc and transit Jupiter. Uranus activity in 1988 can be shown to contact the career axis within acceptable orbs, okay? Imagine the sudden global visibility after Mandela concert and the subsequent Grammy sweep. Early family rupture, 1968. So Cancer rising with Scorpio moon emphasizes emotional security themes like Saturn and Pluto. Contacts to the IC fourth in the early years can be aligned with the parental divorce and economic stress. Relocation and education, E3, ninth house emphasis, and Uranus contacts support a scholarship-driven move to a distant preparatory school, and archetypal escape via education signature consistent with the biography. Public persona, Cancer rising with a strong Scorpio moon accounts for the combination of productive privacy, deep emotional presence, and performance. I guess Cancer rising as well, that would make sense, and the capacity to voice collective pain without theatrical excess. Faculty should stress that alternative rising signs remain possible. A thorough classroom exercise would include at least 3 competing time hypotheses scored against the same event list using identical orbs and techniques, then ranked by convergence. You know, there's this one song I really want to shout out called Keep Pushing On by John Mouse. It's a really good song. Anyways, hypothetical time chart structural overview. So using the illustrative time of 9:42 EST on March 30th, 1964 in Cleveland, the following house in angular structure emerges as is placed at S. All positions remain subject to the uncertainty band of the working window. So you have the angle house, approximate cusp, key occupants, rulers, and a pedagogical note. So we see the ascendant is 15 degrees Cancer, approximate cusp, with key occupants and rulers, Moon, Scorpio, rules, while Neptune and Pluto influence via aspects. And our PN, call it, is productive, empathetic, public face. And the second house, Leo, Sun, Mars, and Aries fall in later houses. Values, voice, self-worth. Third, ninth, Virgo, Pisces. Uranus, Pluto, and Virgo, midheaven in Pisces. Writing, education, worldview. Fourth, I see, Virgo. Uranus, Pluto, practical roots, service, family rupture, and resilience. Fifth house, Libra, Scorpio. Moon, Neptune nearby, creative output, songwriting. Seventh, ascendant, Capricorn, Saturn influence, serious partnerships. This 10th, midheaven, 25 degrees Pisces, Neptune ruled career axis, artistic, activist, public role. 11th, 12th, Aries, Taurus, Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, collective voice, values, drive. So hopefully this makes sense to you guys so far, and we're learning more about astrology and rectification as we go on. So under this model, the concentration of personal planets in the 11th, 12th house, Sun, Aries, Taurus, emphasizes collective causes, behind-the-scenes creative work, and a voice that emerges from solitude into public advocacy, consistent with Chapman's trajectory from private songwriting to sudden global platform in 1988. Sample event technique correlation matrix. This is illustrative. And really quick, I don't think I've done a video on Fifi Dobson. I mean, I might have. I don't recall. I know I've done a lot of videos on like multiple different people and I've bunched them into one, but yeah, we might have to come back to Fifi Dobson because she was born a few days after me, just a different year, 1985. I'm from 05. She was born February 28th, and I'm very, very interested in her chart, so I'll see you guys for that video as well. The matrix below demonstrates, and holy shit. Sorry guys, here we go. The matrix below demonstrates the kind of multi-technique scoring faculty shared choir of students. We see each major event is tested against the solar arcs SA, secondary progressions SP, primary directions PD, transits TR to the proposed angles, and a check mark indicates a contact within a teaching orb, typically 1 degree for directions, 1 through 2 degrees for transits of outer planets. This is a simplified schematic for classroom use, while actual calculation requires professional software, solar, fire, Janus, astroglow, etc. We see the event, the SA, SP, PD, TR, and notes. So, essentially, the checkmark is contact within teaching orb. And then we see that our square is wider or secondary contact, and matrix is schematic for instruction. So for example, E1 is divorce, 1968, Saturn Pluto to IC zone, E3 relocation, 1979, Uranus to 9th angles, E5 album, April 1988, Jupiter Uranus to midheaven, E6 medulla, June 1988, peak angular activation, E7 Grammys, February 1989, Jupiter culmination, E8 1995, 97 success, Saturn Uranus cycle, E10 2024 Grammys, Uranus return themes. And here is recommended faculty teaching protocol here. Data integrity first. Always begin with a raw rating and source notes. For rating X cases, state explicitly that no time is known and that all subsequent work is provisional. Event weighting exercise. Have students independently rank the biographical events by rectification utility before revealing the faculty hierarchy. Discuss discrepancies. Multiple hypothesis. Require at least 3 distinct rising sign hypotheses. Score each with identical techniques and orbs. Rank by total convergence and residual contradictions. Technique isolation. First apply solar arcs alone, then secondary progressions, then primary directions, then transits. Only after separate scores are recorded should the combined matrix be constructed. Uncertainty band. Never present a single minute as the time when the data do not support a published working window, for example, adding, subtracting 15 or adding, subtracting 30 minutes, and document the remaining ambiguity. Ethical framing. Emphasize the rectified charts of living public figures. These are research tools, not public pronouncements of fact. Avoid circulating speculative times as verified data. And software transparency. Document the exact software, house system, node type, and orb settings. Used so that results are reproducible by other researchers. Directions for further faculty and student research. Obtain any additional data events, first public performance dates, exact signing contracts, specific tour, itineraries, medical, or residential milestones that could further constrain the angles. Test alternative house systems under the same candidate times to assess robustness of angular context. Apply perfections, a diagonal releasing, or other holistic timing techniques as independent checks. And also compare the working model against other high-profile rating X charts, like musicians, writers, activists, to refine event weighting heuristics for artistic careers, and explore the most possible range more finely by examining progressive move phases and void of course periods relative to key creative output dates. With peace and love, let's finish this video off with the closing statement for faculty. Rectification is both a technical discipline and an ethical practice. The absence of a recorded birth time for Tracy Chapman is not a failure of the biographical record. It is an invitation to tease to limits of inference. The hypothetical window and chart structure presented here exists solely to give advanced students a concrete case on which to practice multi-technique scoring and event prioritization, and the disciplined reporting of uncertainty. When the work is done well, students leave with a clear understanding why the angles matter, how predictive techniques constrain one another, and why intellectual honesty about the residual ambiguities is itself a professional virtue. That outcome, not a single correct minute, is a proper educational goal. These are the sources that were consulted: the Astro Data Bank, Britannica, Rolling Stone Archives, contemporary interviews, discographies, planetary positions derived from standard ephemerides, all-time charted elements, or illustrated models only. Document prepared for you guys, not for commercial distribution, it's verified held data. And I'll see you guys in the next video with peace and love. Peace out.